This is the complete timeline of Greek mythology. Let's begin at the very beginning, when there was nothing but chaos. In the beginning, there was only chaos, a vast empty void. From this primordial darkness emerged the first divine beings: Gaia, the Earth Mother; Tartarus, the deep abyss; Eros, the force of attraction; Erebus, the darkness; and Nyx, the night. Gaia, lonely in her existence, gave birth to Uranus, the sky, who became both her son and her husband. Together, they created the first generation of divine beings: the 12 Titans, the 3 Cyclopes, and the 3 Hecatoncheires, monsters with 100 hands each. But Uranus feared his children's power. He imprisoned the Cyclopes and Hecatoncheires in Tartarus, causing Gaia immense pain. In her anguish, she crafted a great sickle and convinced her youngest Titan son, Cronus, to castrate his father. When Cronus struck, Uranus's blood fell upon the earth, giving birth to the Furies, the giants, and the Meliai nymphs. Cronus freed his siblings and became ruler of the cosmos, ushering in the Golden Age. He married his sister Rhea, and they ruled together. However, Cronus had learned from his father's mistake. He received a prophecy that one of his children would overthrow him, just as he had done to Uranus. Paranoid and desperate, Cronus decided to devour each of his children the moment they were born. One by one, he swallowed Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon. Rhea, devastated by the loss of her children, was determined to save her 6th child. When Zeus was born, Rhea hid him in a cave on the island of Crete and gave Cronus a stone, wrapped in swaddling clothes instead. The infant Zeus was raised by nymphs and fed on the milk of the goat Amalthea, while the Curettes clashed their shields to mask his cries. When Zeus reached adulthood, he returned to challenge his father. With the help of the wise Titaness Metis, he gave Cronus a potion that forced him to vomit up Zeus's siblings. First the stone, then Poseidon, Hades, Hera, Demeter, and Hestia, all grown to adulthood. The 6 siblings, led by Zeus, declared war on the Titans. This conflict, known as the Titanomachy, raged for 10 years. The war seemed endless until Zeus freed the Cyclopes and Hecatoncheires from Tartarus. Grateful for their liberation, the Cyclopes forged mighty weapons. Zeus received his thunderbolts, Poseidon his trident, and Hades a helmet of invisibility. With these divine weapons and the 100-handed giants fighting alongside them, the Olympians finally defeated the Titans. Most Titans were cast into Tartarus, though a few who remained neutral, like Prometheus and Atlas, received different fates. After their victory, the 3 brothers drew lots to divide the cosmos. Zeus became Lord of the Sky and King of the Gods. Poseidon ruled the seas, and Hades became master of the underworld and the dead. The earth remained common to all 3. Zeus established his court on Mount Olympus, the highest peak in Greece, where he ruled alongside his wife Hera, goddess of marriage and family. The 12 Olympian gods took their places: Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Demeter, Athena, Apollo, Artemis, Ares, Aphrodite, Hephaestus, Hermes, and later Dionysus. But Zeus's rule was not without challenges. The giants, born from Uranus's blood, rose up against the Olympians in a war called the Gigantomachy. With the help of the hero Heracles, the gods again emerged victorious. The Titan Prometheus, whose name means forethought, took pity on the mortal realm and decided to create humanity. He molded the first humans from clay and breathed life into them. His brother Epimetheus, afterthought, was tasked with giving gifts to all living creatures. Epimetheus distributed all the good qualities, strength, speed, warm fur, sharp claws, to the animals, leaving humans naked and defenseless. Seeing their plight, Prometheus stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity, along with the knowledge of arts, medicine, and civilization. Zeus was furious at this theft and punished humanity by creating Pandora, the first woman, as a gift to Epimetheus. Despite Prometheus's warnings, Epimetheus accepted her. Pandora carried with her a jar, often called a box, containing all the evils of the world. When her curiosity overcame her, she opened it, releasing disease, war, famine, and death into the world. Only hope remained trapped inside. As humanity multiplied, they became increasingly wicked and impious. Zeus decided to destroy them with a great flood, sparing only Deucalion, son of Prometheus, and his wife Pyrrha, daughter of Epimetheus and Pandora. For 9 days and nights, rain fell from the sky, while Poseidon's earthquakes shook the earth. The entire world was submerged except for the peak of Mount Parnassus, where Deucalion and Pyrrha's ark came to rest. When the waters receded, the couple found themselves alone in a devastated world. They consulted the oracle at Delphi, who told them to throw the bones of their mother behind them. Understanding that mother meant Mother Earth, they threw stones over their shoulders. The stones thrown by Deucalion became men, while those thrown by Pyrrha became women, thus repopulating the earth. From this new humanity arose the Age of Heroes, a time when mortals achieved legendary feats, often with divine parentage or intervention. One of the first great heroes was Perseus, son of Zeus, and the mortal princess Danae. King Polydectes desired Danae and sought to remove Perseus by sending him on an impossible quest to bring back the head of Medusa, the Gorgon, whose gaze turned men to stone. With help from Athena and Hermes, Perseus obtained winged sandals, a kibisis, magical bag, and a cap of invisibility. Perseus found the three Grey, sisters who shared one eye and one tooth among them. By stealing their eye, he forced them to reveal Medusa's location. He then flew to the Gorgon's lair, and using his polished shield as a mirror to avoid direct eye contact, beheaded Medusa while she slept. On his return journey, Perseus rescued the Princess Andromeda, who had been chained to rocks as sacrifice to the sea monster Cetus. He married her and used Medusa's head to turn Polydectes and his court to stone, saving his mother from unwanted marriage. The greatest of all heroes was Heracles, son of Zeus, and the mortal woman Alcmene. Hera, jealous of her husband's affair, tormented Heracles throughout his life. In a fit of madness sent by Hera, Heracles killed his wife Megara and their children. To atone for this crime, the oracle at Delphi commanded him to serve his cousin, King Eurystheus, for 12 years. Eurystheus, prompted by Hera, assigned Heracles 12 seemingly impossible labors. Slay the Nemean lion with impenetrable hide. 2. Kill the 9-headed Lernaean hydra. 3. Capture the golden-horned Ceryneian hind. 4. Capture the Erymanthian boar. Clean the Augean stables in a single day. 6. Slay the Stymphalian birds. 7. Capture the Cretan bull. 8. Steal the man-eating mares of Diomedes. Obtain the girdle of Hippolyta, queen of the Amazons. 10. Steal the cattle of the three-bodied giant Geryon. 11. Steal the golden apples of the Hesperides. 12. Capture Cerberus, the three-headed dog guarding the underworld. Through strength, cunning, and divine aid, Heracles completed all 12 labors, achieving immortality and earning a place among the gods after his death. Another great heroic expedition was led by Jason, Prince of Iolcos, who sought the Golden Fleece to reclaim his rightful throne from his uncle Peleus. Jason assembled the greatest heroes of his generation aboard the ship Argo, the Argonauts. The crew included Heracles, Orpheus, the legendary musician, the twins Castor and Pollux, the winged sons of the North Wind, and many others. Their journey to Colchis was fraught with dangers. The clashing rocks called the Symplegades, the bronze giant Talos guarding Crete, and the deadly sirens whose songs lured sailors to destruction. In Colchis, King Aeetes agreed to give Jason the fleece if he could complete impossible tasks, yoking fire-breathing bulls, plowing a field and sowing dragon's teeth, then defeating the warriors that sprouted from the earth. The king's daughter, the sorceress Medea, fell in love with Jason and helped him succeed. After obtaining the fleece by lulling its guardian dragon to sleep, Jason and Medea fled Colchis. Their return journey was equally perilous, but they eventually reached Greece, where Jason's story would take a tragic turn through his betrayal of Medea. The greatest conflict in Greek mythology began with a divine beauty contest. At the wedding of Peleus and Thetis, Eris, goddess of discord, threw a golden apple inscribed to the fairest among the guests. 3 goddesses claimed it: Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite. Zeus wisely refused to judge and instead appointed Paris, a prince of Troy, to decide. Each goddess offered him a bribe. Hera promised power, Athena offered wisdom and victory in battle, and Aphrodite offered the love of the most beautiful woman in the world. Paris chose Aphrodite. The most beautiful woman was Helen, already married to Menelaus, king of Sparta. When Paris visited Sparta, Aphrodite ensured that Helen fell in love with him. They fled together to Troy, taking much of Menelaus's treasure. Menelaus called upon all Greek kings to honor their oath to protect Helen's marriage. Led by his brother Agamemnon, 1,000 ships sailed to Troy, beginning a war that would last 10 years. The Trojan War saw the greatest heroes of both sides clash in epic battles. For the Greeks, Achilles, the nearly invulnerable son of Thetis; Ajax the Great, a massive warrior; Odysseus, the clever king of Ithaca; and Diomedes, beloved of Athena. The Trojans were led by Hector, Paris's noble brother and Troy's greatest defender; Aeneas, son of Aphrodite, and the Amazon queen, Penthesilea, who joined the war late. The gods themselves took sides. Athena, Hera, and Poseidon supported the Greeks, while Apollo, Aphrodite, and Ares aided the Trojans. Zeus tried to remain neutral, but often intervened to maintain the balance. The war's turning point came when Agamemnon dishonored Achilles by taking his captive, Briseis. Achilles withdrew from battle in rage, and without their greatest warrior, the Greeks began to lose. Only when Hector killed Achilles' beloved companion, Patroclus did Achilles return, seeking vengeance. In single combat, Achilles slew Hector and dragged his body around Troy's walls. This act of dishonor turned the tide of divine favor. Soon after, Paris, guided by Apollo, shot an arrow into Achilles' only vulnerable spot, his heel. With their greatest heroes dead, both sides grew weary of war. The Greeks, inspired by Odysseus' cunning, devised the famous stratagem of the Trojan horse. They built a massive wooden horse, hid their best warriors inside, and left it as an apparent offering to Athena before sailing away. Despite warnings from the prophet Cassandra and the priest Laocoon, who was killed by sea serpents sent by the gods, the Trojans brought the horse inside their city. That night, the Greek warriors emerged, opened the city gates, and Troy fell in fire and blood. King Priam was killed. At the altar of Zeus, Hector's infant son Astyanax was thrown from the walls, and the women were taken as slaves. Only a few Trojans escaped, led by Aeneas, who would eventually found Rome according to later Roman mythology. The Greek victory came at a great cost. Many heroes died during the war, and those who survived faced perilous journeys home. The most famous return was that of Odysseus, whose 10-year journey became known as the Odyssey. Odysseus's voyage was plagued by divine wrath, particularly from Poseidon, whom he had angered by blinding the Cyclops Polyphemus. His adventures included encounters with the Lotus Eaters, who made men forget their homes, the witch Circe, who turned his men into pigs, a journey to the underworld to consult the prophet Tiresias, the deadly sirens, the monster Scylla, and the whirlpool Charybdis, and the island of the sun, god Helios, where his men's impiety led to their destruction. Finally, Odysseus reached home alone, disguised as a beggar. He found his palace overrun with suitors competing for his wife Penelope's hand. With help from his son Telemachus and the goddess Athena, Odysseus revealed his identity and slaughtered the suitors, reclaiming his throne and his wife. Greek mythology is filled with cursed bloodlines that suffered generation after generation. The house of Atreus, which included Agamemnon and Menelaus, was cursed when their grandfather Tantalus served his own son Pelops to the gods as food. Though the gods restored Pelops to life, the curse continued through kinslaying and betrayal. The house of Oedipus in Thebes faced similar horrors. Oedipus unknowingly killed his father and married his mother, fulfilling a terrible prophecy. When the truth was revealed, his mother Jocasta hanged herself, and Oedipus blinded himself. Their children, Eteocles, Polynices, Antigone, and Ismene, would face their own tragic fates in the War of the Seven against Thebes. The house of Pelops continued its cycle of violence through Agamemnon's murder by his wife Clytemnestra and her lover, revenge for his sacrifice of their daughter Iphigenia. Agamemnon's son Orestes eventually killed his mother to avenge his father, pursued by the Furies, until he was finally purified by Athena and Apollo. Death was not the end in Greek mythology, but a journey to the underworld, ruled by Hades and his queen Persephone. The dead were ferried across the river Styx by Charon, then judged by 3 judges, Minos, Rhadamanthus, and Aeacus. Most souls went to the Asphodel fields, a gray realm of shade and regret. The wicked were punished in Tartarus, while heroes were rewarded in the Elysian fields. Some, like Tantalus, Sisyphus, and Ixion, received eternal punishments that became legendary for their ironic nature. Few mortals could visit the underworld and return. Orpheus descended to rescue his wife Eurydice, but lost her again by looking back too soon. Theseus and Pirithous attempted to kidnap Persephone, but were trapped until Heracles freed Theseus during his 12th labor. As the age of heroes waned, new champions arose. Theseus, king of Athens, became famous for slaying the Minotaur in the labyrinth of Crete, aided by Ariadne's thread. He unified Attica under Athenian rule and established the democracy that would make his city famous. Bellerophon rode the winged horse Pegasus and slew the fire-breathing Chimera. But his pride led to his downfall when he attempted to fly to Olympus. The Dioscuri, Castor, and Pollux protected sailors and were eventually placed among the stars as the constellation Gemini. The gods' romantic entanglements created many of mythology's most beautiful and tragic stories. Apollo's unrequited love for Daphne led to her transformation into a laurel tree. His grief for the youth Hyacinthus, accidentally killed during a discus game, created the hyacinth flower. Aphrodite's affair with the mortal Adonis ended in tragedy when he was killed by a wild boar, possibly sent by her jealous lover Ares. From Adonis's blood grew anemone flowers, and his death and rebirth became associated with the changing seasons. The story of Eros and Psyche told how mortal beauty could win divine love, but only through trials and perseverance. Psyche's curiosity nearly destroyed her relationship with the god of love, but ultimately led to her immortality and divine marriage. Beyond the well-known Olympian gods, Greeks worshipped mystery deities whose rites promised spiritual transformation. The Eleusinian mysteries, centered on Demeter and Persephone, offered initiates hope for a blessed afterlife through ritual death and rebirth. Dionysus, god of wine and ecstasy, represented the wild, untamed aspects of nature and human emotion. His worship included dramatic festivals that evolved into Greek theater, where the great tragedies retold mythological stories. Orphism, based on the legendary musician's journey to the underworld, taught that souls could achieve purification through multiple reincarnations and ritual practices. As the classical period waned, the old gods faced challenges from new philosophies and religions. Philosophers like Plato reinterpreted myths as allegories, while others dismissed them as primitive superstitions. The rise of Rome brought new interpretations of the Greek gods, who were identified with Roman deities, but often lost their original character. Christianity eventually displaced the ancient pantheon, though mythological stories continued to influence art, literature, and culture. Some myths suggested that the gods themselves knew their time was limited. The Norse concept of Ragnarok had parallels in Greek prophecies of divine twilight, though Zeus's reign seemed eternal in most stories. Greek mythology didn't end with ancient Greece. It transformed and endured. The Romans adapted the stories, giving the gods new names. Zeus became Jupiter, Aphrodite became Venus, Ares became Mars. These tales spread throughout the Roman Empire and survived the fall of Rome through Byzantine scholars and Islamic preservations. During the Renaissance, humanist scholars rediscovered Greek texts, sparking renewed interest in classical mythology. Artists like Botticelli, Michelangelo, and countless others drew inspiration from these ancient stories. Writers from Shakespeare to Joyce incorporated mythological themes and characters. Modern psychology found new meaning in these ancient patterns. Freud's Oedipus complex, Jung's archetypes, and Campbell's hero's journey all drew from Greek mythological structures to explain human behavior and storytelling. Greek mythology remains relevant because it addresses universal human experiences: love, betrayal, ambition, justice, family conflict, and the search for meaning. These stories don't provide simple moral lessons, but explore the complexity of existence through divine metaphor. The gods of Olympus were not perfect beings, but amplified versions of human nature. Zeus's authority and infidelity, Hera's jealousy, Athena's wisdom, Ares' violence, Aphrodite's passion. Through their stories, the Greeks explored what it means to be human. Heroes like Heracles, Theseus, and Odysseus showed that mortals could achieve greatness through courage, cleverness, and perseverance, but also that hubris and fate could bring down even the mightiest. The tragic cycles of cursed houses demonstrated how violence and revenge perpetuate suffering across generations.